This week, David and I are in the heart of rural Australia.
Well, suburban rural Australia.
It's a cul-de-sac with the MG ZST. There's the badge, David, the MG badge. That's got a bit of history, of course.
Oh, immense history. Back in 1920, they started building mainly sports cars, but as it's moved right on, it's finally, of course, now taken by the Chinese and the SAIC organisation.
So they've tried to buy a little bit of history, and when I think of MG, I think of MGB, chrome, a little bit of woodwork. I think of an open-top gentleman's weekend coupe, something that doesn't go, doesn't stop, dreadful in the rain, and God forbid you should want to put the roof up. But I still think that they sit in the place that's sort of vacated by the Japanese from the 60s, 70s and 80s, and the Koreans by the 80s, 90s and 2000s. So there was a spot left for something that was not cheap and cheerful necessarily, but not overly expensive. Like, I don't think $31,500 for this top model is a big ask.
It's a top model, I think, is the point. It's got a lot of technology, and so while I said you pay for what you get, you still don't pay as much as you might with others.
No, it's about 4 years or so, and at the launch, one of the executives said to me that they were thrilled when they saw one of these on the roads that wasn't driven by an MG executive. So it goes to show you. First of all, styling. David, there's nothing particularly new about this styling. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're just trying to create something, a look that really we are familiar with SUVs. We've got automatic headlights that also have an automatic high beam, so they come on at night and then go to high beam. Down the bottom, there's a radar for radar-assisted cruise control, which is part of MG Pilot. We'll show you that in the car. And under the bonnet, David,
it's a three-cylinder, 1.3 litre. It's the common trend with a little bit more size than some of the others, which I quite like. Not for huge power, 115 kilowatts, 230 newton metres. That's not bad.
230 newton metres enough, and it certainly feels nippy enough on the road. It's got a smooth 6-speed Aizen automatic.
I found
up from the 4 speeds that they used to have.
The point about the extra capacity makes it an easier engine rather than a littler engine.
Has that 3-cylinder rasp, like a 3-cylinder bike. I've got the key in my pocket.
I'm going to trust you on that.
Well, I'm not asking you to look. And I just press this button, the mirror unfolds and the door can open. You can also get into the boot. Just while we're around the back, I think the tail lights look quite nice. They've got this little kind of panelled look to them. And the badge, particularly clever. David, would you give us a demo? It tilts out and is the handle for the tailgate. And there's a grab handle here, so you don't have to get your hands covered in schmutz when you close the tailgate. David, tell me about your legroom.
Legroom is good here, and plenty of room under the seat to put my feet. Not quite enough support under the thighs I would like. It has a map pocket. It has 2 USBs. It has a grab handle here. It is comfortable, perhaps pushing the limits for someone who's 6 foot.
There's a lot to like about the inside of this car.
A very large screen, 10.1 inches.
It's high resolution, but there's something about it I don't like, but I don't know what I don't like. I certainly could get used to it. It's got everything on it you could ever need. And then down below, we've got one-touch buttons to take you home, volume for the air conditioning, your demisters, fan control, and temperature control. But you can also get to those up here in the menu, which I think looks not too bad. And the other thing I like, David, very much, and I think you were a bit of a fan too, is the 360-degree camera. It's quite clever. Just press the little camera symbol and you'll notice at the side you've got options. In 2D, you can scroll around the car using the various mirrors, but in 3D, you get this really nifty fly-around view.
The steering wheel goes up and down, but not in and out, but you can get a good look at the dashboard. The interesting thing is that it is dominated by the pilot technology, where you are fitting in the lane rather than necessarily having a speedo, which of course is on the left and is digital, which I like, and a little bit of information on the right, including a digital readout of the tacho.
Reasonably smooth, as I said. You've got that little bit of a raspy 3-cylinder grumble, which is not unpleasant. David, what do you think of the surfacing?
I think it uses modern material that makes it look distinctive, a little bit sharp.
But the surfaces are nice and soft mostly,
Yeah.
and this matte trim I think doesn't look too bad either.
No, it doesn't have the colour stitching, but it of course has it here. I don't mind that. I think sometimes stitching colour can end up looking like GT stripes.
But I'm okay with it looking like GT stripes. Because cars with GT stripes, David, as you know, it's a certified scientific fact that they go faster.
Well, particularly if you can see them inside, and so you feel that faster speed more noticeably.
Well, that makes the engine go faster. GT stripes.
Yes, indeed.
And on the outside, it's a proven fact that it makes it more scientifically aerodynamic. So if we put GT stripes, a lot of people don't believe that. If we put GT stripes on this car, David, it would go faster. It would go 400 kilometres an hour.
And you know, some people call that fake news.
Well, we're not in America, so probably not. So you can see here, David, I've got kilometres on one side and the tachometer on the other side, but interestingly, you can see that it's doing like 2.5, 2.7. I just think that's really annoying. I'd prefer it to, show the full number.
I think the full number is really a classic where a dial is better than a digital in terms of revs.
The steering, David, is unbelievably light. Now it does get a little bit more weighted the faster you go. But we're unlikely at school drop-off time to get faster. But around town, and I think that's the thing, David, this is a front-wheel drive car, and I think that's where it's going to get all of its use. And look at this, David, if you just turn this dial, the sunroof you can see is opening, but the shade is still in place. The shade doesn't open until you press this button, look. You've got a little wind deflector up top as well. Let's get that closed though, because that's actually pretty brutal. And there was someone behind me.
Okay, you're happy?
Right.
You'll have to turn that on, Alan.
Your problem is you've got this overwhelming sense of self-importance since you became a radio star.
Now, I found as soon as I got in this car and I accelerated hard, it's got a bit of a roar to it, but it's not the sense of a cheap car trying to keep up with the more refined product.
Let's just say you've got a road trip to do. You're thinking about taking this car. Would you take this car? I reckon you would. That's it for this week. MG ZST, and this is the top of the line car, which I think has everything in it. David, what did you think of it on the road?
It is more complete package, perhaps not class leading, but certainly value for money.
As I said, they're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but they're trying to make that wheel a little bit less expensive. Don't forget, leave a comment, hit like, and where are we going to put the subscribe button, David? I think over there, just there. Hit there. It's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.